Coming up next on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, and my co-hosts, Ron Richards and Win Tweet Dow. We talk about Android 13 finally releasing platform stability with Beta 3, although there's this whole back navigation change that's coming with Android 13. How's that working out? We talk a little bit about that. Also, Nothing's new smartphone has an event date that's coming up next month, and they're showing it off with a bunch of birds. There's a lot to figure out there. Google Talk, you may have thought it was dead, but now it's really dead, like dead. Goodbye to conversational actions as well. Plus, we have a whole bunch of your feedback and a whole lot more next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ITProTV. Finally, you can enjoy getting an IT education with ITProTV. Visit itpro.tv/allaboutandroid for an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active subscription when you use code AAA30 at checkout. Hello, welcome to All About Android. This is episode 582, recorded on Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Win Tweet Dow.
Oh, yes. The three of us in the house. Well, I guess I'm in the house and you're in the TV house.
We're in the box.
I'm in the box.
You're the box.
And we're in the boxes.
Who's in the box? You know what I realized as I was doing the intro for today? We've been saying forever the latest news, hardware, and apps. Do we need to add feedback? Because that is technically a thing. Or is that just kind of like, that's also there? It's all the latest news, hardware, apps, and feedback from you, the Android.
But the problem is that then you need to change it because it'd be latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful and feedback from the Android faithful.
Yeah, right.
You see, you got
latest news, hardware, and apps for and feedback from. Yeah, no, this is getting too complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know if it doesn't have quite the same ring. Which is not to say that we don't respect all of the feedback and wonderful emails that you send to AAA@twit.tv. We love it. But we will continue to honor you at the end with the horns that you just heard and not at the beginning. All right. Woo. Well, we have a show for you. I certainly hope so because we're here to do one. So why don't we jump right in and let's start the show with the news, Burke.
I don't know if you ever noticed, but we only use proprietary cables here on Android News. Only proprietary.
Oh dear.
I mean, I would first like to applaud Burke for a strong comeback to the Android News bumper after several weeks. I feel like of not a great performance. And secondarily, if I had to predict anything about Burke and cables, it'd be proprietary.
You're welcome, Ron.
I feel like he's got to draw proprietary cables.
That's how he prefers it to be, too.
Burke does not like proprietary cables.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, Win, you got the top story, and boy, it is exciting, let me tell you.
Yeah, we just finished talking about Android 12 QPR3 last week, and this week we got Android 13 Beta 3 for you dropping on June 13th. I can't keep it all. 1, 2, 3, A/B, throw in some letters in there, and then hope that eventually you get it on your phone. And yeah, June 13th, you got your Android 13 Beta 3. So if you are already enrolled and looking for those sweet over-the-air updates, or if you're kind of looking to get into your Android 13, into the Android 13 beta game, you can certainly enroll now, and you will get that Android 13, which is now with beta 3. Good Lord. See, I'm already confused. With beta 3, Android 13 is now at platform stability, which means all app-facing APIs and behaviors are final, which is great for me. And devs don't like it when you rug pull our APIs out from under us, so that makes it easier for devs to start finalizing support for it. And kind of interestingly enough, y'all might not have noticed, but Google seems to be kind of hot on tablets this year. Just, I don't know if you kind of noticed, maybe you heard something. A little bit. You can actually get Android 13 Beta 3 on tablets, some tablets actually. If you check out the Android 13 Beta Testing Partners page, you can check out whether, if you have a Lenovo or some other tablet, whether you want to get your Android 13 Beta 3 on that. check it out because you might be able to.
Nice.
And
they have a lot of partners on the beta page.
They do
now.
Actually. I was quite surprised. It kept going. I was like scrolling and it kept going. So yeah, if you are excited about large screens as much as Google is, you go ahead and check out that partners page and see if you can get on it. And what do you get to get in on? Well, number one is now predictive back animations is now in the developer options. We talked about this around I.O. time, but basically Google is trying to make it easier for folks to tell where the back button is going, at least in some situations, particularly when you're going home. So for us devs, this is actually pretty important because back navigation is kind of hard. We've done some janky stuff, myself very much included. And so basically Google is giving us Android 13 to figure stuff out. And then by 14, they're just going to break our stuff, which is fine because that's kind of honestly how you kind of need to get us to do stuff like this. So if you're a developer or if you're just a user kind of want to see what the future of back navigation looks like, you can now access the predictive back animations via the developer options in your settings. For devs, again, you have two routes. If you're, I guess three, but really two. If you're supporting Android X, which is the modern compatibility library, there is an Android X library that you need to be implementing. If you're not on Android X and you really don't care about previous versions of Android, probably some of you out there, you don't have to worry about that. There is a modern API for that. And I guess the third option is just not to do anything and then your back navigation breaks. So that's also an option. So yeah, we got 13 to play around and to get it working. And hopefully by 14, maybe everyone will see something new and different for back navigation. Hopefully good stuff, maybe some broke stuff, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. This seems to be very specific to gesture nav. I guess if you're a 3-button navigation user, you're just going to miss out on all the fancy predictive back navigation.
Is it isolated to just gesture nav, or is the action tied to the swiping from the side gesture nav should mirror the function of the back button if you choose the 3-button display? I would imagine
on the OS side of things, right?
Yeah.
But can the app override that?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that matters. I'm kind of curious because the whole thing is the point of predictive back animation is that as you're pulling, it kind of is you're kind of doing a back thing. Let me, for example, if you're going to kick out to home, it'll show you. But but that's a gesture. So there's kind of intermediary, there's a middle bit to a gesture, but with a button, it's just a click. So I think regardless, you need to support this. The brokenness or not brokenness of your navigation won't be affected by this. But I guess just this kind of the predictive part, I wonder if that's just not a thing for the button.
Nav is all virtual now, pretty much. I mean, no phone has 3 buttons. They're lucky if they have 1.
I don't know. Well, I kind of still used it for a while when I was protesting.
And actually,
I stuck with it for a while. I stuck with it for a very long time.
It's still an option. I mean, the point is it's still in there. If someone chooses to do the 3-button, like my wife, she hates the gestures, and so she always opts for the 3-button.
Yeah.
And so it's still there. I activated the setting that you were talking about, but it's not really doing anything when I do my back nav. I will say, have you been running the betas that have implemented some form of this predictive back nav at all?
No, I should have. I should be. I've kind of been telling my team we need to do this, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. We haven't quite gotten there yet. I really should, though.
For a team of your size, do you wait for this, what do they call this, platform stability point in order to do that?
Yeah, I think most teams do, just because, again, when APIs change. So, basically, it's literally the names of things and the way that you call things. I mean, I think everyone's going to be working up until the end to fix, behavioral stuff. But when it comes to, API changes, we don't really want to deal with that. And most of the time, we get, a set amount of time to... It's necessary time, but we don't have a lot of time to do stuff like this. So we try to wait till the last minute till everything's kind of set in stone, and then it makes us not have to dance around the changes as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, for our team of our size, we usually wait until probably this point. Platform stability is pretty much what we're going to be waiting for, and then we'll probably start having folks turn on or rather install the beta on some phone. Hopefully, a couple people always put it on their daily drivers and then see what happens. The actual back navigation, so because it's not breaking in 13, you probably, I'd hazard to say that there's a good number of apps that won't be looking all, sexy and predictive backy yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good point.
Yeah. So by next year, I think I would anticipate seeing a lot more. It would be easier to take a survey, like maybe next year, of what it looks like for folks, because I think that's when the feet are going to be to the fire and you really have to do this. So I don't know. I will install it and let y'all know, but it's kind of, I guess kind of that one case with going to home where it's really, really interesting. And then, I don't know. I have to look at the API. I will report back to y'all when we decide to actually support things. So yes.
I mean, I've just noticed, I can't really quite put my finger on exactly what the behavior is or exactly what's going on. But I mean, okay, obviously this changes how the back button operates, right? Like they're implementing some sort of a change to the back button. And there are times where I'm in an app and I would say the back button should be taking me to a different part of the app, but instead it still takes me home, or vice versa. It should be taking me home, or you know what I mean? It's I'm still very confused as far as what it's actually doing, but I have noticed a change, and it's not a change that I notice all the time. Often the back button does what I expect it to, but sometimes it does something that's very bizarre. And that could just be early release bugs and everything that they're working out. But I'll be curious to see how this operates when it's like, here's the release candidate. We've got all the things figured out on this predictive scenario. But yeah, there are a couple of times where I've been like, no, that's not at all what I wanted, and I'm surprised that that's what you think I wanted. When I think of predictive behavior, like we talked about in the show in the past, it's trying to understand what exactly we expect, or what the developer expects should happen when you hit the back button. And right now, I wouldn't say that it's hitting 100%. It's probably more like 75.
I would still say the majority of the blame when you get confused is probably, as a developer, I'm going to say the majority of the issue is going to be us. And I think that switching over to a new API could make things better, but it could also just be, I'm going to make this so that my app roughly works. So it might just be like marginally better. But yeah, if you continue to have problems, I would say like very likely it's still a dev problem. Just to own up to that. So
okay, so I'll just blame the developers.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, to be that's kind of what it is. Like, I mean, it's our responsibility if we don't adopt predictive back navigation. And especially if we adopt it well, you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes it's just sometimes like when you're in certain situations, I've had so many weird conversations over the years with different teams about what should the back button do. And it's weird how many different opinions you can get. I guess it also depends on the complexity of your app and like how things are structured and like how you move from like screen to screen. Yeah. It is really weird sometimes when you have people on the same team writing the same app and they don't agree on what back should do. And that happens. That's why I kind of want to take a lot of responsibility here as a dev that, I really just do feel like Google is kind of just making us all change to something, and hopefully some things will be better. Like knowing that you're going home. If you're using gesture, I don't know how it's going to work for 3 buttons. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for devs, it's kind of interesting. I know for users, maybe everyone's kind of like burnt out on back buttons, but you can have some other nice features with your beta 3. You've got battery widgets of varying sizes. And also to kind of roll out the red carpet for Pixel tablet, they're rolling out a 6x5 app grid. So it looks like we're getting the Pixel launcher ready for the Pixel tablet with a 6x5 app grid. There's some things like updating like kind of all areas to more Android 12 style with pill buttons, kind of other little, some settings are coming and going. There's a redesigned fingerprint unlock setup for under display readers only. There's a wider and thicker navigation, just like a lot of little, like tiny little, like incremental changes. And something that actually is more, substantial and interesting is the Pixel Launcher web search. If you are using the Pixel Launcher, presumably you are if you're using a Pixel phone, but if in the Pixel Launcher home settings, you can now see a search settings section, which includes a toggle for web suggestions. So as you're typing into your Pixel Launcher search bar, you should be able to see web results now. And also, at-a-glance flashlight is available in beta 3. I actually got my June update on my phone, and I am very happy to have flashlight at a glance on because I leave my flashlight on all the time, and now I have an easy way to turn it off. So
that happened to me the other day, and I had it sitting on the counter, and even the always on display that was displaying right at the top, flashlight on. I was like, oh, and then you pick it up. It's the thing that I've noticed people make fun of a lot. People make fun, oh yeah, that flashlight on that. What a pointless feature, but it's actually really it came in really handy. Yeah, see, like Burke's flashlight shining right on me right now. That's a little too bright for me. Yes, exactly, like that flashlight. So it's coming handy. Right on.
Well, I'm happy, and hopefully Beta 3 folks are happy. And there you go. Platform stability. Try it out, and let the Android team and us know what you think of your Beta 3 features.
Right on. All right, thank you for that. Let's see here. I'm going to try and understand this story. I had to do some reading and then rereading to make sure that I had this right. So correct me if I get any of this wrong. Last year, Google announced the Play Integrity API at the Google for Games Developer Summit. And it was expected at the time that this was going to someday replace something that's been in place for a long time called the SafetyNet API. Essentially, it's like an integrity test. And when we talked on the show, I don't know how many years ago, about things like Google Pay not working on rooted devices, that's kind of what we're talking about. It's that integrity check. This is an API that's in place to monitor the phone, to make sure that the phone is of a certain status, of a certain, build or something. And, integrity is just the word that comes to my mind, that would enable Google to say, yes, we trust this device to run something as critical as like a personal banking app that might have or something that you're using at a pay terminal, at a store, so that or a criminal or something couldn't use a rooted phone and then maybe steal something through the same system. I'm totally guessing on that, but that's kind of my understanding. And now Google has announced that the SafetyNet API is going to be replaced by the new Google Play Integrity API. The SafetyNet Attestation API is going to be deprecated by 2024. Google does say that developers need to start integrating with the Play Integrity API as soon as possible to get ready for this switch, so that they don't end up, in an uncomfortable position down the line. And I think of the stories that I read about this, yes, there's banking apps and other things like Netflix, media streaming apps that the developers want to keep those apps secure and make sure that only the right people are using them, that sort of stuff. But there's the root and the ROM community that's kind of concerned about this too. What would it mean for the future of modding devices? And I think that's kind of an open question mark, although, as we all know, it's always a cat and mouse game, right? The second Google changes something and it changes the playbook for people who like to modify their devices, they're instantly looking for other ways to start modifying the devices and kind of get into that back door. So, but this seemed to be getting some attention. Did I do an okay? I don't know if you know more about this than I do when it's kind of behind the scenesy stuff, but
yeah,
this is like deep under the hood stuff.
Yeah,
this isn't even like behind the scenes. This is like underlying tech, right? Underlying OS stuff,
right.
Yeah, and I think that the ways in which this can be exploited are kind of like out of my sphere, and maybe I'm maybe just out of the sphere of most, just at the granularity at which they're checking things, right. I mean, I think like a lot of times, like for, let's say, your average app, maybe things like, I guess login might be a place of attacks, and like possibly anywhere where, you know, purchases and in-app purchases might start happening, or even if it's possible for you to like repeatedly do an action and kind of like jam up the server. But yeah, this is interesting. This is kind of a little bit out of my normal space. It's kind of interesting, and I think there was a point, I think like on they were talking about the Android Bytes podcast and wondering whether, you know, with the granularity, or at least the levels of granularity at which you could do these checks, whether that would mean that DAS would make room for people that, you know, are like rooting and ROMing, or whether people are just be like, this is too hard, just like, you know, block all the things.
Right.
And I think it's interesting. I don't think I've ever, to be fair, in my experience, I've never really had a conversation where we talk specifically about rooted or kind of ROM users. But again, I've worked on very conventional apps, let's say, so it's not really in my space. So yeah, I'm kind of curious who and for what applications really need to kind of, you know, take a look at this. It seems like, was it specific to like the game? Was that right? Like it was announced at the Game Developer Summit.
Yeah,
so maybe
yes,
something about games is a little bit more exploitable in this kind of manner with rooting and ROMs. So,
yeah, it seems to me it kind of covers a lot of bases, right? It could be games, you know, figuring out systems to I don't know, perhaps cheat on games, exploit the games in some way. But that also, you know, that same system could be applied to payments, could be applied to, you know, it potentially, as far as these stories are concerned, how a user is able to root their device, what kind of access they're able to get from that. So yeah, I guess we'll see what this actually ends up meaning, but it could be a big deal, could not be. I mean, it does sound like this new system is just more robust than the previous system, the SafetyNet API. So that could potentially make things a lot more complicated for the community who is really into modifying their devices. But I know they're also very smart. That community is very smart. They often can find a way around pretty much anything if they look hard enough. So, and you better.
That's part of the game. That's part of why they're in that community, right?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Like
Totally. It's a badge of honor.
If it was easy, they wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So too funny.
Yeah.
So moving on, at the top of the show, you heard Burke being snarky about cables, but last week we were talking about how the EU passed their order saying that all mobile device manufacturers need to make their devices with commonly used cables, no proprietary cables, Apple, basically requiring USB-C as the cable of choice for charging devices starting in 2024. But you might remember that the UK left the EU thanks to Brexit, and now the UK is saying it is not following suit with this decision by the EU. Basically, with Brexit, this would seem to make things a bit more complicated because, like, will Apple choose to make multiple versions for different regions? Like, will they make phones that are chargeable via USB-C in the EU, but then stick to the Lightning cable in the UK and the US and other it opens up all these kind of doors. Although, but what I find really interesting, and this is somewhat. I'm not surprised that the UK is not going along with it, given their rocky relationship with the EU and all the criticism. Our video viewers just saw, Burke pull up a screenshot talking about, quote, saying that, this move stifles innovation and that sort of thing. But you got to wonder what the long-term impact is on companies like Apple, where, do you adjust to comply with the EU and just keep that limited to that region, or you change your product completely moving forward? What percentage of sales are reflected from the EU? How big of a hit is it? Do they just stop selling their device in those regions? I mean, I don't think they would do that, but there are a lot of, people who are good with spreadsheets and numbers who will run what is the relative cost impact of making this change, and they could just choose not to do it. Fine, we won't play there, and then at that
kind
point,
of the Huawei. Well, I mean, it was a little different, but a
little different. Yeah, it was a little more political. But you if let's play it to the extreme, and Apple says, it's not cost effective for us to adopt USB-C as a charging cable for the iPhone for the EU, so we're going to pull out of the EU. The EU now has just limited their citizens' options, because what if you want an iPhone, right? And so the ramifications of this kind of legislation, the way it was been written, is fraught with bumps. So yeah. Wacky. That said, I do think everybody should be using USB-C, but that's just me. It's universal.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, my guess, there's no way that Apple would make multiple devices. I just don't see that happening. Yeah, we'll sell this USB-C version of our iPhone in the EU and this other Thunderbolt version everywhere else. Apple's just going to move over. That's my guess, anyways. But
I mean, the iPhone.
I think it comes down to numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, as of. So according to 9to5Mac, and I'll share this link. I can't believe we're talking about. Oh my god, I can't believe we're going to pull up a 9to5Mac article. But so Apple saw its highest growth in Europe as of January 2022, outpacing 25% growth year over year. But that's just their percentage of the marketplace. So no idea of exactly how many numbers that is, how many units that is, unfortunately.
A lot.
See, according to Statista, Apple's net sales in Europe in 2021 were $89 billion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
More than
That's
Samsung.
crazy.
At least
more than Samsung. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one thing I do like about this is the agreement, including a plan to let customers choose whether or not they want a charging cable with their new electronics. Like, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I'm just so excited about talking about this. I just kind of choked
I
myself.
get all choked up.
All choked up. So I honestly don't, I'm not sure the impact of and how I honestly feel about them mandating USB-C. I think in a perfect world, everyone would have migrated there on their own. But also, I mean, I sort of vaguely sort of get the innovation. And also it just feels very restrictive to say USB-C rather than trying to do it more collaboratively. I think it's a little bit odd. But I do like the idea that in terms of responding to waste, kind of putting the monopoly and stifling the possibility of stifling innovation because of lightning or not lightning. I do like the idea of letting consumers choose charging cables with their new electronics. I do think that actually is a valid and an interesting part of the agreement because, I mean, I as a house with 2 Android developers and a crap ton of devices, we are swimming in USB cables, and trying to recycle them on this end is a lot harder than say preventing it. So I do like that. I will say that I'm down for. I don't. The rest of it's kind of
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know the impact. We'll see.
I agree. We will see. All right, let's take a break and thank the sponsor of this episode, and then we will get into some hardware news and beyond. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by ITProTV. There are a lot of IT training platforms that you could go to. The question is, do they actually have the most up-to-date content, right? Are you going to find exactly what you actually need for your job in IT or your budding career in IT? You can get the best possible IT training and certifications with ITProTV. So you don't have to keep searching anymore. That's the place to go. Get training, get certified on your own schedule. They have virtual labs and practice tests, so you're always going to be supported and prepared for your exams. And, we're so used to binging content. Now you can do that here as well. 20 to 30 minute increments if you want to binge their episodes. They have over 5,800 hours of IT training. It's always up to date with the most current content, which is, as you know, very important. It's a fast-paced technology world that we live in, so you need to be current. One reviewer says, most engaging hosts I've ever watched. I highly recommend ITProTV to not only IT professionals, but also to people who have interest in IT but don't know where to start. Very educational and entertaining. That's what one reviewer wrote about ITProTV. You can check out some of their newest courses too. CompTIA A+ Core 1 and Core 2 series. That's designed for professionals who support today's core technologies from security to networking to virtualization and more. There's CompTIA's A+ certification. It's an industry standard for launching IT careers in today's digital-focused world. And you can learn about hardware, operating systems, networking, security, troubleshooting, all across the board. So much education, so much stuff to be learned from their amazing content. ITProTV will have 2 free live webinars this month that you can actually check out. All Things Cybersecurity, Hacking Your Way into the Field with Daniel Lowry and Zach Hill. That's on Thursday, June 16th. So that's this upcoming Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then there's The Future of Project Management with Chris Ward and Kelly Mack. That's Thursday, June 23rd. So that's next Thursday, a week from this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And what do how can you pass up some live webinars from ITProTV? It also gives you an idea of kind of what their content is like. And I guarantee you, if you watch that, you're going to be sold. Don't forget about your IT team. Check out an ITProTV business plan as well. If you have a team to support, it's the perfect way to do it. Visit itpro.tv/allaboutandroid. You'll get an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active subscription. So not just at the beginning, the lifetime of your active subscription when you use code AAA30. That's itpro.tv/allaboutandroid. Make sure and use that code AAA30. You don't want to miss that. That's how you get your additional 30% off for the lifetime of your active subscription. And it also lets them know that you heard about it through All About Android. ITProTV, build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey along the way. And we thank ITProTV for their continued support of All About Android. Doing some really cool stuff over there. All right, let's dive into some hardware, the pool of hardware. You don't actually want to dive into a pool of hardware. Let me just tell you, it hurts. Yeah, it's painful. So now you know. All right, when you've got
it's
the first
really
one.
it's the corners that get you. It's the sharp edges and things like that. Yeah.
And things like that. Yeah. Well, we talk about Qualcomm quite frequently as they are a huge chip manufacturer, making, the majority of, or their chips being in the majority of flagship phones and quite a significant portion of mid-level phones. But they also kind of got into the smartphone game themselves last year with their smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders. And for $1,500, you got an Asus-made Snapdragon 888, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and a 1080p 144 hertz OLED display. And if you're the kind of person who likes a little bit of character in your OS, you are still rocking the Android January 2022 security update, which they sent out on March 18th, and you're still running Android 11. So, pluses and minuses, but for a flagship phone, this is a little bit, little weird, especially considering that, prior to their March 2022 update, they previously before that released a December 9th, 2021 update. And before that, actually, we're having a string of monthly updates with extensive fix lists. So it seems like Qualcomm is shifting to more of a quarterly update rather than monthly updates. So, for $1,500 and comparing it to, the Samsungs and the Googles of the world, not great. Now, Qualcomm is actually generally pretty good about helping everyone else with updates to, kind of like the fundamental software and security. So some blame might be perhaps laid on the feet of Asus because, Asus doesn't really have a good track record with their own updates, and this is an Asus-made phone. So, yeah, if you were kind of all, excited about the Snapdragon Insider phone, you might just have to kind of get used to quarterly updates, which is not so great. But it sounds like because it is quarterly and it is June, you were probably looking at another update sometime soon.
Sometime soon. Although,
soon.
I'm going to put this is going to be the call out of the week for anyone to email in. If you actually own one of these phones, if you were one of the buyers of the Snapdragon, the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders device, email us. Let us know what you think. I have a high suspicion that they did not sell very many of these, and that's probably part of the reason why this is being updated so slowly. But at the same time, it's kind of a slap in the face to say this is a phone that's just for our super fans. And by the way, you're paying a lot of money for it, like $1,500. That's foldable phone territory right there. Yeah. That's Samsung's premium of premium flagship non-foldable phone. So.
Yeah, that's foldable phone or like wacky gimmick phone.
Yeah.
Right.
That is 6 months behind. 6 months behind on security updates.
Yeah. Oh, geez. They're like some sort of bizarre like subwoofer inside the case or something like that. You know what I mean? Like something. Yeah. Some type of using glass from the 1800s or something to make the price too
and a laser
high.
stylus.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why they're so slow on updates. Like they want to keep like an antique feel. So maybe like this phone has like antique glass like pulled from the melted from like sand at the bottom of some kind of like ocean or something, and then like now that to go with it, you have an antiqued OS.
The stuttering of the OS will remind you. Will bring back memories of what it was like to compute in the 80s.
It's made out of Ming Dynasty glass.
Oh, there you go. $1,500 worth.
Ming Dynasty glass. Yeah. Okay. So do you think we're going to see another one of these smartphones? Is Snapdragon going to release another one of these? I mean,
no, because they found out how many Snapdragon super fans there actually are. That are going to buy one of these. Yeah. So if you are one of those super fans, email us AAA@twit.tv. We will. I could almost guarantee you we will put you in the feedback section to let us know what you think of that phone, why you bought it, and anything else you want to share about it. Please do. I know this is your new favorite story trend, excited.
Ron. So I'm
so excited because guess what? In 27 days, we're gonna have a lot to say about nothing. Nothing announced that they're gonna officially launch their first smartphone in an announcement on July 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern at an event in London. And since that announcement, they've been releasing a few teasers. And I gotta be honest with you, on my nothing bingo card, I did not have marketing campaign based on birds. Yet here we are, because it looks as if the design element for Nothing's launch is bird related. So they released one teaser that showed two birds standing on the top of the phone. And you can see it here. Our video viewers can see it. They posted that to Twitter, and they posted it with the text, "Curious, so are they." And then they recently posted another post to social media of a bird with this little beak on top of the phone, and it says, "Hello, pretty." And there was also some on their Twitter account. There was some imagery of Nothing posters promoting the event featuring birds. It's very, very weird, and I love it. I'm here for it. Sign me up for it. But each of these little teasers are just showing a tiny sliver to part of the phone to be announced, just a little piece of it. And of course, fans are taking the challenge as they're trying to piece together. You just saw our video viewers just saw an image from that. Fans are trying to piece together what the phone might look like based on the little bits that are shown from these teasers, plus other things that we've seen and speculated. But one thing that's important to note in these teasers, the back of the phone doesn't appear to be transparent in both of those shots, but that doesn't worry me because I can't imagine that they're going to have different flavors of the case, right? And they're going to have different colors. And my guess is one of them is going to be transparent. That's my guess. But you can go to their website at us.nothing.tech and find information about the event and get notified for it. The landing page for the event is a close-up of a bird's wing and feathers and stuff. And it seems like their tagline is return to instinct, which must be bird related. I have no idea what's going on here, and I'm so excited.
I'm so
excited. Does the phone migrate south for the winter?
Yeah, that's a feature. Yeah, it flies away. It flies away home.
Okay, hear me out. This for some reason I'm getting like a Hitchcock vibe because remember when we looked at the Nothing launcher and it had that really creepy wallpaper that was like something from Psycho, like with a hand on like a shower curtain, and now there's birds like everywhere.
Wow.
If there's like a Vertigo or like some kind of reference to like, what's this Hitchcock movie and what's like. Not South by Southwest.
North by Northwest.
Thank you. If there's more Hitchcock imagery, don't buy this phone, but be careful. Be careful with this phone.
I would have loved it if Hitchcock was a founder of South by Southwest, though.
Who knows? Maybe they'll bring Hitchcock out as a hologram to announce the phone.
Yeah, maybe. So, I mean, good on them. I mean, go to their Twitter account, go to twitter.com/nothing. And like, you can see what they've been doing. And like their tagline on their Twitter account is, "We're here to make tech fun again," bird emoji, which is like, it seems pretty fun, right? You know, it's pretty cool.
Very pretty.
I don't know. I'm digging this. I'm liking it. So, yeah, so in London, they put up posters for the event, and there's pictures of birds. It says Phone 1 on it. So
birds. There's got to be some sort of explanation about the birds thing.
Oh, maybe for the launch event, birds will fly in and drop phones down from the sky. You know, I mean, I'm sure like some animal, it's probably not very SPCA.
Sounds like the boss has a new pet.
Yeah. Look, they're superstars. Just trust me. Put them in the promotional material. They're superstars.
They mint their own money. You know, how can you lose money?
I'm interested. I think the little the like puzzle pieces fitting into the artwork, that's interesting. That people are starting to kind of draw those connections. I don't know. You know, from a marketing standpoint, if this is Nothing's strategy is feed out a few little things with those interconnected pieces that someone's going to recognize, and then that becomes the pursuit. It's actually a pretty smart campaign. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, is this the leaked image?
I don't know what the source of this image was.
Well, I don't know either, but it's on the Nothing Phone 1 page.
Okay.
Oh,
well, so take a look at that. So what you're showing there on the right, and that's the overlay that we're seeing where people have taken those promotional images that were just released and finding how they fit on that device, and everything kind of flows into it. So maybe what we were seeing there is roughly what the kind of transparency quality looks like. Maybe we won't actually end up seeing circuit boards and everything, but we'll be seeing through the plastic to some sort of underneath kind of
or at least
stylized covering
of
the stuff.
Like,
Is that a person? I mean, is this puzzle? Is that a puzzle of a person on the right, on the back? That's
it
like
does
a person,
look like
right?
a person.
Kind of does look like a person
eye.
going like this.
Yeah, with
like I got nothing. I don't know. I got nothing. That's what he's doing. He or she. I don't know.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
It's a person. Their nipples are showing. I'm sorry.
That's true.
Oh, hey.
That's true.
Heyo.
I got something.
Everybody's got them.
Return to instinct. Return to instinct. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. This is going to be interesting. I'm getting very very intrigued by what this is all leading to.
Gosh.
Sure is.
It's definitely fun. I mean, it is fun. It is nice to have. I mean, like, definitely, you know, the hype is there, the interest is there. I'm so sorry I said that.
I mean,
I can
got some cut abs too. I mean, those are some abs, right? Works out. Whoever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever
Swole
that
phone.
is. Phone nothing person works out. All right. And then finally, if you, and I realized when I put this in here, I was like, you know, my sister qualifies. If you have a Samsung phone and you have a broken display on it and you never fix it because like, oh, I've got a screen protector and it won't actually hurt me, or I don't want to spend the money to fix my display or whatever. Now might actually be the time to get it repaired, because Samsung is offering screen repairs for many of their flagship devices for $50 right now, which is actually a pretty good deal. I thought this is worth throwing a little bit of attention to, even though I realize I'm fully doing Samsung's marketing for them. But I know a lot of people do crack their screens and they drag their feet getting it repaired because it's expensive and everything. And so here you go. I don't know, you know, how cheap it gets, but this seems pretty inexpensive to me. It only applies to the front glass, so you can't get, you know, other damage fixed for that $50 cost. It's, you know, no water damage or the rear glass or anything like that. It does have to be mailed into to Samsung, and foldables do not apply. That makes sense. Foldables is a different story, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, if you've got that broke phone, everybody's like making fun of you all the time because you got the broke glass. Why don't you ever get that fixed? And you're like, oh, because I don't want to right now. Well, now you can, and you can pay a little less for it. So thank you, Samsung. Thank you.
Look at that. They got a heart.
Samsung has a heart, and it's not afraid to show it. So there you go. Oh yeah, they've got a heart for $50.
Yeah, exactly. There's a price to their love.
Price
Really.
for everybody. For everything.
Look, you can't have this heart
Not for
for
everybody,
free. It's not Valentine's Day.
That's too funny. Speaking of that, that just reminded me. I watched this week's episode of John Oliver on HBO, and the main topic was tech monopolies, and and it was fascinating. And there was a whole rabbit hole that he went down about Googling about dolphins and finding out that dolphins are capable of love, but also capable of evil, and yada yada. But it was fascinating to see like a mainstream audience kind of thing try to distill down and explain to a mainstream audience Google, Apple, Amazon, App Store, like, and all, and at one point, and I'm sitting there kind of nodding and I'm agreeing with it or whatever. And at one point it's like, well, Apple and the App Store, they've dealt with several lawsuits, and I thought they were going to go down the Epic route, and I was like, oh, Epic, but he never went into that level of detail. Yeah. But it was just very funny because it gave me an opportunity to talk to my wife to be like, this is what we talk about on the show. We talk about this stuff,
Tune in.
like app store policies and things like that. But but so if you have HBO or HBO Now or HBO or Max or whatever the hell it's called, go check it out because there's interesting comedic look at the potential tech monopolies of Google and Apple and Amazon.
I'd heard that he had done that. I haven't seen it yet though.
Yeah,
he does good.
And it was funny because they did. It was, I mean, I don't know if it's funny or sad, but like at the top of the piece, they lumped it in talking about like the world's most powerful tech companies and how they provide things, and and they showed Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook logos, but they never talked about Facebook or Meta. Like they didn't.
Nice.
They just talked about Apple's hardware dominance and Google's dominance in search and Amazon's dominance in the marketplace, and then ended the show. So sorry, Facebook. So
Facebook and Meta, they're so irrelevant now.
Yeah, exactly. Sad.
They're like a second or third tier player at this point. We don't need to worry about them.
Really, what problem do they solve? But,
Dwindle in chat actually just pointed out that the clip you're talking about, the whole thing is free on HBO's YouTube channel. So if you don't have HBO Max, go check it out there. Thank you for the tip.
Check it out. It's definitely worth the watch for sure. Yeah, so.
All right, coming up next, we've got some app news. That's up next.
And it's not just app news, it's shocking app news.
Shocking.
Right? So I want to make sure everybody's sitting down, that nobody, if you have a weak heart or weak constitution, that don't, clutch your pearls, get ready for this. Do you remember Google Talk by any chance?
Oh yeah, that's the messaging thing that Google killed, right?
Right. No, it's still alive, that's and so now crazy. They're killing it.
That's so crazy. I thought they killed it a long time ago.
So what happened was that while they did kill Google Talk as a front-end product for us to use in favor of 19 different messaging applications over the years, they did keep the Google Talk basically system alive through third-party apps. And this is a blast in the past. Third-party apps like Pigeon or Gaugem. I remember using Pigeon back in 2005 to I had Gtalk and I had AIM and I had the Hotmail chat and all that stuff all on one platform. So apparently if you were one of the 4 people still using Pigeon
holdout
in 2022, which I feel bad. Pigeon is probably active, and there's probably a whole big community that are still using it. I shouldn't be mean. Probably. Yeah, it's still there. Pigeon.im. There it is. It's a universal chat program. They're still alive.
Modified as of January 2020. So
right, but hell, still, that's. That's at least it's more reason than I thought it would be. Yeah. But anyway, so Google did announce that they're finally going to close the Google Talk service on June 16th, which just gives you 2 days to adjust, everyone, by the way. Today's June 14th. After June 16th, Google Talk will be dead. So pour one app out for Google Talk. Maybe we play some taps. I don't know.
I'm not going to pour one out for this.
All right. And it's actually, if you want to go back in time and remember, I forget when Google Talk started.
When did it
was like
start?
16? Yeah. Let's see. Google Talk.
We can figure this out.
We can definitely figure this out. So Google
2005.
Talk, according to Wiki, 2005 it started, and then they shut it down, the front end side, in 2013 in favor of Hangouts.
Yep. Oh, okay.
They sure did.
We're going to pause on that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what you get, Ron.
In favor of Hangouts. And now here we are. Well, so it's 2013. So we're 9 years later, and they're finally killing it off. Apparently, who is it? A cousin of Ja in chat, or actually in the Discord, says that Pigeon comes with Ubuntu. So apparently it ships by default with Ubuntu Linux. So that's why that they were holding on, I guess, or I don't know. I was very surprised to see this story, to be honest. I thought the talk was completely gone at this point. All right, so we've said goodbye to our good friend Google Talk.
Shocking.
Now it's time to talk about a different chat app. And so speaking of messaging, WhatsApp, which I still use WhatsApp from time to time. I know you use it actually a decent amount, right, Ron?
I live and die by WhatsApp. I've got all my friends and family in there. Yeah, no, seriously, it's a major tool for us.
Yeah, and I mean, we have some All About Android communication in there. Do you use it for anything other than All About Android, Win? Just out of curiosity. Nope. That's it.
Just for y'all. That's it.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. WhatsApp friends. That's fine.
We'll probably keep most of our communication through Slack then, because I'm sure you're using Slack for other things.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's good to know. That is good to know. Well, last year, Meta rolled out a message and account transfer feature that allowed you to go from the iOS version of the app to Android. But at the time, the reverse direction was unavailable. Now, after long last, this is available, and in fact, it was such exciting news, apparently, that now you can go from Android to iOS, that Zuckerberg himself posted on his personal Facebook page to announce it. It's going to include chat histories. However, it doesn't include everything. No P2P payment information, no photos, videos, or voice messages, which... I don't know. A lot of those happen in messaging. I'm surprised that doesn't transfer. And no call histories. But now, if you really want to switch away from Android and you want to take your WhatsApp chats with you to iOS, I suppose you can do that now. So congratulations. Go home.
Wow.
Well then.
I'm just kidding. I'm just sad that that you might be thinking about doing that. Don't do that. And if
just because you can doesn't mean you
yourself.
have to. It doesn't mean you have to, right?
That's true.
So.
That's true.
Or that it's right.
Or that's right. Yeah, exactly. Just because Zuckerberg said it was cool doesn't mean that you have to think it's cool. So There you go. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know if y'all do. And if you don't, we could talk about Assistant. That's fine too.
We can talk about Assistant.
Yeah.
So it looks like if you are a Nest Hub user and you've really liked using your third-party voice experiences, including games, like things like trivia puzzles and picture books for the kids, you might be really disappointed coming soon, because Google is getting rid of an API call or a feature called conversational actions. Conversational actions was kind of a way for third-party apps to create conversation experiences, so kind of like a back and forth, with your smart display to allow you to kind of expose different services of your app to the user. And it was announced in 2016, and I actually find this really interesting because I remember when I first heard about conversational actions in 2016, I was kind of interested, but I am honestly, I really know I think I know next to no devs that have actually used it. And actually, I did go to a talk by a friend of mine, Andrew Kelly, about conversational actions. And it's really interesting because, the idea was with the Smart Hub, you tend to have conversation with your Smart Hub, right? And that's kind of like a feature that Google has been working on to make that as natural language as possible. But this kind of feature set will be deprecated as of June 2023 in preference for app actions. And Yeah, it's interesting because the way that you made conversational actions worked was that rather than kind of like doing normal Android dev stuff, there was this whole kind of website where you would build a conversation flow, and it was kind of just totally separate. So rather than doing this, most people these days, if they are kind of like trying to do like assistant integrations, are using app actions for Android, which was announced in 2019. And from a developer standpoint, for me, it was just way more straightforward. It basically is a way for you to introduce voice-enabled features into your app. So the user can basically kind of, do things like, send a payment to this person, or like search for this thing at my favorite shopping place. Kind of, it was all intent based. It was all about quick, simple voice commands rather than this kind of like conversational back and forth. And that is what, and that particular kind of, way of creating these features, and specifically for Android, is what Google is focusing on. So conversational actions is out, app actions with Android is in. And yeah, I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me as a dev. Like I said, like the app actions are a lot more straightforward to build. They're also, I think, a lot more straightforward to understand. Like, like there's things like shortcuts and favorites where if you kind of just have something you do over and over again, you can have like a little short phrase to keep doing it with your, Android assistant. So I get it, but it also means that if you were using your Nest Hub for some of these third-party experiences, you're going to be out of luck. And kind of with this conversational actions, feature set was something called the interactive canvas, which was a way for developers to build applications that had both touch and voice input for these smart displays. And people kind of did some cute stuff with it, like doing trivia and doing like simple like smart display games. You're not going to have those anymore, unfortunately, once the API gets deprecated. So I think it kind of makes sense to me. And they're trying to like kind of focus their efforts on assistant and kind of, these app actions, which again, I think are easier to build and a little more intuitive for me as a dev. But that's kind of sad because I do feel like, especially with the Nest Hub and smart displays and the kind of apps that took off, there was a lot of like, focus on like, experiences for kids, with picture books and like kind of like the games. So yeah, sorry, it's going to be on its way out. And but you will, but so that being said, there will still be lots of third-party smart home integrations or media. That's not going away. It's just this very particular conversational actions type like API that is going away, along with unfortunately the smart, or what's it called, the interactive canvas. So
I remember when all of the conversational actions. All of the announcements that happened 2016. 2016, I believe, was the first Pixel year. And it was, Assistant moving into the smart home year. Like that was a big year for hardware announcements and features and everything like that. And I remember hearing about conversational actions and thinking, oh my goodness, the sky is the limit. Like just think of all of the integrations that this Google Home is going to have and be able to do. And the way it turned out, it was so overwhelming, like the amount of like the syntax that you had to remember, hey G, talk to blank, and that's like the syntax leading into whatever your command is. So it wasn't very intuitive to say that, although I suppose if you did it a number of times, you probably get used to it for the service that you just had to have. But anytime I opened up the list of all the different, providers that had programmed something with conversational actions, like none of it stuck. Like it never stuck. I wanted for it to, because there was so much potential there, but it just didn't.
I mean, given my experience with the Assistant and Google Home and stuff like that, I'm not surprised by any of this, right? It is a most frustrating conversation with the Google Assistant, no matter what. So
yeah. And just to reinforce, like from the dev side, I was like you, Jason. I was like actually super excited to see if we could do some cool stuff with this, and I was like, oh, it's a conversation that's so cool. And then just the fact that it's almost like building a whole different experience on top of your Android app. So in that way, like I've mentioned before, like when things are a little bit not in our normal flow of development, it gets even harder to kind of put it on a roadmap, because then now we got to invest time on someone learning how to do this thing. And like there's like a whole bunch of like, things that we're not used to that we have to consider in terms of like, I don't know, like legal design, branding, all that kind of stuff that someone has to figure out, for us. And then, and then with the new app actions, it's just easier. It's just part of your Android app. So I think once I heard, I got really confused actually when app actions came out, because conversational action was out, but it didn't seem to get traction. And then app actions came out, and it seemed like it kind of was what I anticipated conversational actions would be like the way that you make app actions is kind of what I had been thinking at first, what conversational actions were. And so it was really confusing. So again, I'm not surprised. And I mean, app actions just makes more sense. It's a lot more likely for me to just throw in an app action. Maybe I'll do that too, just ninja that in. But yeah, no, it's just a lot more or less friction for us to add these in. So yeah, hopefully they'll continue to be a thing. I mean, that being said, we still haven't done it because it's still nothing to do it. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, same kind of like unmet promises, unmet potential, unfortunately. So just kind of was anytime I looked into it, I was like, I like the idea of this. There's something about it though, like it's very overwhelming, and it doesn't quite deliver exactly what I was hoping to get. So we'll see what it morphs into. I have to imagine Google also has some sort of plan, or will, if they don't already, to enable developers to continue to create like child-focused things for these smart displays, and because they've been so popular. So it would be real bummer if a lot of these disappeared because they suddenly just didn't support the underlying technology anymore and didn't replace it with an alternative, although this is Google and they do that all the time with their apps. So why would they do that here? I don't know. But hopefully they don't. Google don't do that. So, all right. Coming up next, your feedback. And we don't have a bumper for that. So envision the 1980s. What was it that we were playing in the pre-show? The
CBS special presentation drum roll. The bongo drums.
Yeah, there you go.
We were talking about that during the pre-show, and I found it on YouTube, and I sent it to my sister, and she just wrote back, said random.
There we go.
That noise.
Nice. Very nice.
If you were born in the 70s or 80s, you know what that noise sounds like. So, all right. So first email comes from Ryan from Garden Grove, California, who says, "Hey, AAA fam, I wanted to add my support to the Amazfit smartwatches. I had an Amazfit BIP for years after Father Robert's recommendation. It had a month-long battery and notifications from the phone. I recently replaced it with the Amazfit GTR 3, which is the round version. GTS is the square. The size is great, the screen is beautiful, and it's packed with features, but the best is probably the weeks of battery life. I was saving for the Pixel Watch, but changed my mind after hearing the expected battery life was going to be around a day." And so thank you. And he sent along a photo of his Amazfit watch that he clearly loves. And Ryan, a couple of notes here. First off, in our conversation about Amazfit, I did not know they had a product called BIP. And because of that, now their stock has risen, in my point of view. I think that's a great product name. It's the Amazfit BIP. Secondarily, I totally understand where you're coming from. It sounds like the Amazfit phone's doing what you need. You like it. Month-long battery is hard to, or weeks of battery life is hard to argue. Keep in mind our conversation about the Pixel Watch, not the Pixel Witch. That's a different thing. The Pixel Watch. The Pixel Watch has all been speculation. We don't know yet, right? For sure.
Yeah.
So while I'm glad you're happy with your Amazfit, wait until you actually see confirmed specs about the Pixel Watch before you make a judgment. So that's just my cautionary tale.
Yeah, but it does look nice. I looked up the photo that he attached on his wrist, and it seems, at least from this angle, to have that kind of like rounded display, like the curved display on the top, similar to what the Pixel Watch should have. So yeah, it's not bad. And it actually that actually looks like a lower profile watch, but I guess we're looking at it head on, and often they look a lot thinner that way.
Yeah, that looks like a solid watch.
Nice. It's great.
Yeah. So
lots of Amazfit love coming from folks who follow this show. So
who knew?
Keep it coming. AAA@twit.tv.
Maybe they should call the Pixel Watch the Google Pixel Watch BIP.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
or the Pixel Watch Amazfit. No,
that might be a problem.
That's stepping over the line. Yeah. But we know what they meant if they did that. Ian Hall from Wantage, UK, proud previous receiver of the email of the week, by the way. So you get that little bonus there, Ian. Wrote in to say, since working from home most lunchtimes, I walk to visit my elderly mother and take her for a walk around the nearby park. On the way with my Pixel 4a locked in my pocket, I use the Google Assistant via my Pixel Buds A series to call my mom to tell her I'm on my way. When I do this, the phone unlocks in my pocket and the phone screen is displayed. Often when I'm walking, the phone detects screen presses as I guess it moves in my pocket next to my leg and can cause problems like disconnecting the Bluetooth or hanging up, etc. So I have to remember to take it out of my pocket or have it in there with the screen facing outward when going to see my mom. Do you know how to have the assistant be able to make calls via the earbuds without the phone automatically unlocking to the phone screen? I've had the Pixel Buds since the beginning, and I've made a ton of calls on them, and I don't know that I've ever had my phone unlock when I make a call. The only thing that I can think after poking around is that there is a setting that maybe you don't have checked. So if you go into your Assistant settings, and you can get there either through the Google app, that's Google App Settings, Google Assistant lock screen, or you could just say, hey G, open Assistant settings now. You can do that. Go to the all settings and tap personalization. And then under personal results, look for on headphones and make sure that is activated. With that, I believe anyways, I have this checked, unlocking the display shouldn't be necessary. It basically just allows you to make the calls with the headphones. I don't know why it's unlocking your phone and turning the display on. That's so weird. I'm also wondering if maybe your smart lock settings is doing that. Like when it's connected via smart lock, like if you have smart lock synced to your Pixel Buds, then basically what you're telling the phone is anytime my Pixel Buds are connected via Bluetooth to my phone, disable the locking mechanism or disable the lock screen. And maybe if that is happening and you're I definitely had times where the phone's in my pocket and something happens, either it touches my leg or whatever, that wakes the screen. And if you've got smart lock unlocking your device, maybe that easily takes you to the home screen as a result. That's a total guess. But I was trying to figure this out. I'm like, I don't know. It's got to be one of those two things. I don't know if anybody else has any better suggestions, but that's kind of what came to mind for me.
No, the smart lock sounds like actually a half decent conjecture. Like that would be where my money would be. Not that we're betting, Ian, on your plate, but
I'm betting. We're betting now in Slack. All right, so check Slack,
smart
everybody.
Lock is my bet.
Yep. So yeah, hopefully one of those works for you. I'm sorry you didn't get email of the week this time around. We got to spread the love,
There's also, if he uses developer settings, there's all kinds of settings that might apply to that situation. If he's if he has ever even turned those on.
Yeah. Like related to lock screen
and Bluetooth
and there's a lot of kinds of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hidden gems in developer settings. But yeah, I'm guessing it's one of those. So check those out and let us know how it goes. Hopefully we've solved your Phantom Touch problem. There you go.
Nothing worse than a Phantom Touch problem.
Yeah, I know.
Really, just in general, you don't want a Phantom Touch problem.
No.
I mean, that's
doesn't even sound good.
Doesn't even sound Nope. Not anything.
Not nice.
Nope.
No, thank you.
I think we have the title. All right, Wynn, you've got the honors.
Well, so from Ian, who was our previous email of the week, we go to our current email of the week from Glenn. And Glenn answered our call for dark sky love. And Glenn writes us saying, you asked? So here it is. As a bicycle commuter every day, the hyper-local forecast for rain was great for me. No other app I tried was as accurate as Dark Sky. I was a fan of Dark Sky since it was called Forecast.io when they actually used to show you all the forecast data they used. I also paid for the API to plug into my weather app on my Linux box. But also, Apple has taken Texture, Primephonic, and Dark Sky away from me.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. Well, that makes a lot of sense, though. Oh dear.
I don't know what all that was.
The cat hissing.
I'm like waiting. I'm like anticipation.
Are you blowing your nose, Burke?
It's a cat hissing. And it's right next to the Sadron bone.
So there you go. Bicycle Commuter. Used it. It was the most trustworthy or accurate app.
I can
for
also
that
back
hyperlocal
that
weather.
up. As a former 24/7 motorcycle rider, like for the rain, like
you
hour.
rode motorcycles for 24 hours, 7 days a week straight?
Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
I mean, at work, I
questions.
drove it right in, and
Yeah. That explains a lot. That explains a lot.
yeah,
Coming
exactly
to
like
work, and I'm
Fonzie.
like, we're trying to do a show, and all we hear is over there while you're sitting at the TriCaster on your motorcycle, switching the show. It's like it was inconvenient, and don't do that.
So instead of a treadmill desk, Burke has like I don't know, like kind of like when you get your emissions tested, and they have that little like thing that kind of locks your wheels in place, and it kind of just like
machine. It's like a dyno.
Like like a dyno, but but with your. For what reason? Because I feel like
exactly.
That's cool. Yeah, just like that, just so you can constantly.
That's what it
be
is.
Biking. Motorcycle.
Always be biking.
Always be biking.
Always
if
be
you're Burke,
biking.
always be biking.
Bike always Burks. Oh, Burks always biking. Other way around. My bad.
All right, round it out for Glenn. He deserves one more horns when.
Thank you, Glenn, for our email of the week.
Or two more horns. There we go. See?
All the
More
horns.
horns.
All the horns. Yeah, lots of them because Ian also, I think Ian cracked the code. Ian brought it into his email, and whether he made it into the email of the week or not, it still got played. Right. There we go. Okay.
You know, to remix this a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Well, we have reached the end of this episode of All About Android. Always a lot of fun. What do you want to leave people with? What you got working on? What's going on with you?
Yeah, well, my day job is an Android dev, and occasionally I talk about stuff I do in my day job. And you can find these technical talks, the code, and video on my website, randomlytyping.com. And you can hear me. It's not a hear thing. You can. Well, I guess if you use text to speech, you can find me on social media at Queen Code Monkey on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah.
Right on. Thank you, Wynn. Always a pleasure having you on.
Well, fun.
And then, Ron, what's new in your world?
Hooray, not much. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RonXO. And you can see all my whatever I'm up to. And go, if you're into pinball, go check out Scorbit. It's an app in the Google Play Store that lets you track your pinball scores as well as challenge friends to play, find places to play pinball. It's in the Google Play Store for Android. Check it out. So
check it out.
A lovely conversation today about DevOps and hosting and AWS and Heroku and things like that. So yeah, good times in Scorbit land.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Scorbit.io. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Burke, for all of your behind the scenes work and occasional utterings into the microphone. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Also, thank you, Victor. If Victor was here, he might even utter into the microphone, but he's not here right now. He's
welcome,
more
Jason.
behind the scenes. Burke will say you're welcome for Victor, but you wouldn't get the show if it wasn't for Victor. He's pushing out the feeds. He's editing it after the fact. So thank you for all you do, Victor.
Man with the plan.
That's right. And you can find me at Jason Howell on Twitter, also doing Tech News Weekly every Thursday at twit.tv/TNW with Micah Sargent. So look forward to that. Don't forget Club Twit. If you like your shows, but you want them ad-free, if you like your shows ad-free and you want to participate in a members-only Discord, if you like your shows ad-free and you want to participate in members-only Discord, and you want exclusive Twit Plus podcast content in a feed of its own with lots of extra stuff there, then you probably want Club Twit. Twit.tv/Club Twit, $7 a month Go there and you get all that I just said. Not a bad deal, if I do say so myself. But that is it for this week's episode. Don't forget, you can find everything you need to know about All About Android by going to our show page, twit.tv/AAA. There you can find all the ways to subscribe to the podcast, to YouTube. You can play the episodes on the webpage if you prefer. Really, it's up to you. So go there, twit.tv/AAA. And thank you so much each and every week for checking out All About Android. We really do appreciate you, and we'll see you next time on the show All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, editor of Ad Astra Magazine, and each week I'm joined by Tarek Malik, the editor-in-chief over at Space.com, in our new This Week in Space podcast. Every Friday, Tarek and I take a deep dive into the stories that define the new space age. What's NASA up to? When will Americans once again set foot on the moon? And how about those samples from the Perseverance rover? When are those coming home? What the heck has Elon Musk done now? In addition to all the latest and greatest in space exploration, we'll take an occasional look at bits of spaceflight history that you probably never heard of, and all with an eye towards having a good time along the way. Check us out on your favorite podcatcher.